It's Groundhog Day again, and I'm going to be talking about some of the reasons why I love the Groundhog Day movie. I have several of the reasons already mapped out. I couldn't really fit them all into a super concise list, so I'll probably split this into two parts, and then I'm going to have a bonus. So stay tuned for all that. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about one of the reasons that I love Groundhog Day is Bill Murray. I would pretty much watch Bill Murray rake leaves, or shuck oysters, or trip and fall. He could do anything and I'd be interested, but he brings a certain irreplaceable humor to the movie. He also has a lot of subtle humor that I really find interesting, as well as he delivers lines to such a degree that it's very relatable and believable for me. I also believe that he's one of the more interesting actors that makes a story come to life. More memorable parts of the movie, just various parts of him doing things, stealing money, acting a certain way, the way he walks. It definitely is one of the more sincere parts of the movie. When he speaks, I actually believe it. And whereas a lot of actors, I believe if they were in the same role, they couldn't bring the role to as much lifelike quality to the role. And that's one of the reasons why I really just like Bill Murray in the movie. Second reason I really think that the Groundhog Day movie is really interesting to me is that the holiday itself doesn't have a lot of traditions. And so for myself, it's a holiday that has pretty much absolutely no expectations. It's almost just a regular day, and if I didn't have the movie to think about, I would have no tether to thinking about the day at all. It has something to do with weather, which is kind of what makes the movie, because it takes that grounding weather element and messes with it. But it has absolutely low stakes for me. It's not like I have any expectations for Groundhog Day to go a certain way. And family meetings on Groundhog Day are pretty sparse, at least among people I know. This movie sort of takes Groundhog Day and makes it memorable, sort of like what Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is for the Thanksgiving holiday. And it allows me to make these videos and talk more about things that interest me because it's such a meaningful movie. The third thing that comes to mind for me is the theme of maturity. It's one of the meta themes of the movie, as far as I'm concerned. You kind of start off with Phil, Bill Murray's character, as a sarcastic know-it-all. He's extremely cynical, and he just kind of makes light of things that to some people are very meaningful and sort of is not extremely respectful of other people's lives. And he's more biased towards an urban environment, and he puts a lot of stock into his job and his own importance. But by the end, you sort of see a more humble, helpful, learned member of a community who respects other people for what they are and respects their lives as having intrinsic value. And the character arc sort of resembles epistemology throughout the whole thing. Plato writes in the Apology about character and a historical figure named Socrates, and one of the key arguments that Socrates makes in the Apology is that human wisdom is a type of knowledge that allows humans to know that they know nothing. And that's what makes Socrates wise in this sense. And in this effect, it's what Phil learns when in the beginning, he has very, very little knowledge about the things that he doesn't know. In terms of his own knowledge, he's not even quite aware of what he doesn't know, but he is very arrogant and puts forth a false air of confidence, and he really doesn't know how to do a lot of things. And so when people are around him in trouble, he not only doesn't know how to help them, but he doesn't care enough to help them. He's not interested in a community that he's not really a part of. And even though he's been coming here for years, he has no real ties or relations to this place, and he wants to leave these people as soon as he got there. And he's really only there for selfish reasons, so that he can get paid and that he can make his life better. And by the end, it's almost a 180. The fourth thing that kind of gets me excited about thinking about Groundhog Day and the movie itself is Bill Murray's character, Phil's hedonism. It's very interesting to me because in the beginning, when Phil meets resistance and trouble, furthering the maturity theme, Phil just kind of casually seeks a lot of pleasure. And these sorts of things have no consequences whatsoever. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, in a sense, he's kind of pursuing all the things that he's wanted to do but didn't want to pursue because they had consequences. And now he can do whatever he wants, but he's starting to realize that the pleasures that he's seeking without consequences really have no purpose. And for the most part, he just seeks empty enjoyment. And so he just tires himself out with that. And that leads to the fifth thing, and that's happiness. Because Phil, when he seeks pleasure, is really seeking happiness. And while small pleasures will provide a bit of happiness, it's not lasting. Casual pleasure seeking sort of leads him to understand that eating a bunch of candy or all the cake in the diner is not really at all what leads him to being happy. And it's almost like at the end, you sort of see what leads him to being more happy, and that's building real relationships after learning skills and taking a genuine interest in his community and finding meaning where he can find it and doing the very best he can using the knowledge that he gains over the course of the movie, which is no easy task. And as a segue to the end of the video, and also as a sort of a halfway bonus or whatever to conclude this video, I sort of wanted to work in some other things that I wrote that didn't quite as well make its way into the third one, the maturity theme. And for this meta theme, there's a lot of stuff that can go on, but I briefly mentioned another thing, which was that Phil sort of creates his own purpose and goes along with it. And I believe this ties into the maturity theme because his real development begins when he realizes that rote memorization or memorizing random things and trying to present it to people in a misleading way is just a really poor way for someone to learn how to live their life. And outside of the Groundhog Day infinite time scenario, within a certain time frame within a day, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And certain people who are genuine and I guess more or less have some character depth, like Rita, they don't respond to just presenting whatever they like. I mean, Phil's trying to individually piece together the different pieces of what he would want if he was trying to seduce himself, which is very shallow because he's a very shallow person at that point, and he's just trying to get something quick from her, and it doesn't work. And it's the perfect way to spur the character growth because until then there's no reason for him to grow as he sees it because he needs a push into character development. It's pretty good from a writing perspective, but also from the story perspective, it's very just interesting. It's one of the things that I love, but also that I'm almost obsessed with in Groundhog Day. It's just one of the things that like Phil can't really fake his authenticity to a severe degree. It's all surface level, and those scenes where Rita always finds out, it's just interesting because the level of depth that he has in his thinking and his actions, he can fool people that don't know him, but he can't fool people that are getting to know him, and it's just very interesting, and he has to put more thought into it, and he has to really try to become a more well-developed, knowledgeable human being in order to get what he wants, which is in Rita. He sees, I guess, a different, more complete version of himself. I mean, that's what he probably really wants, but doesn't want to work towards it. He wants all the easy gains, all the easy pleasures in life, but he doesn't want to go through any of the hard work to get it. I suppose that's probably a post-Reformation Protestant ethic of something. It's one of the things that really interests me about the film as a whole. And it's a good segue, good time to say I hope you enjoyed this one. The next piece, there'll be more to it, another 5 themes as well as a bonus, and just a general discussion of why this movie has a lot of themes, a lot of different interpretations and way to understand it. And I think that's some of the beauty of the film as a whole. Thank you very much for watching, and have an excellent Groundhog